Hey, listen, we have on the line right now Representative Dave Brat, Republican from Virginia. And listen, it's a good day to have him because we're trying to figure out, it's the big question. Who is going to be the next Speaker of the House of Representatives? Because, we got this problem here where all the people who want to be Speaker can't get the votes, and the people who should be Speaker don't want the job. So, Congressman Dave...
should be.
Yeah, well...
What do you mean should be?
There are some people out there who are maybe qualified, but they don't want it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, Dave Brat's on the line. Congressman, thanks for joining us here. One hears that Paul Ryan, who is having his arm almost wrenched out of its socket to take the job, is leaning toward it. But now I'm beginning to hear from some conservative quarters concerns about Paul Ryan as, having the same kind of problem some of the other folks did. They don't like his stance on immigration. So where are you? Should Paul Ryan emerge as the candidate to be the next Speaker of the House of Representatives?
Yeah, well, and so today I'll speak for myself, but I am a member of the Freedom Caucus, and boy, there is just some bad reporting going out there. I heard Britt Hume last night, say that our Freedom Caucus was in favor of, government shutdown tactics and all this kind of stuff. And so you got some of the establishment press just spreading false narratives on its face. I'm in the group. No one in our group wants a government shutdown. And so when you see the establishment forces rallying, that gets us nervous, and so part of the establishment, the allies, are actually running ads against some of us in our own districts. The Chamber of Commerce has come out and said they're going to try to unseat some of us as Republicans, right? We're pro-growth. I did a PhD in economic growth. And so logically, what we want are just assurances of fairness and good process out of the next speaker. They can't be tied to the very groups that are trying to throw conservatives out of the conservative party. You can't make it up.
Let me try to pin you down on this, though. Based on what you know about Paul Ryan, is he someone you could accept as Speaker of the House?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Folks can go out to my website. I got davebrat.com, and I got 5 policy and 5 process criteria that any reasonable conservative can say yes to in 5 seconds. We had Kevin McCarthy in and had great talks with him, and he and the entire conference, by the way, none of this is reported. The entire Republican conference wanted to make huge reforms, and we were well on our way, but the Speaker, Boehner, called this early election. The whole conference wanted to move, but some folks wanted to put their guy in. And so, the best thing for Paul Ryan is just to step up and assure everyone that he's going to run a fair ship and that he's not the choice of the establishment. I was on Meet the Press. They had 72% of Republicans are against their own leadership right now. So the last thing you want is a coronation from the talking heads in D.C. that Paul Ryan is the man, right? He's a good guy. I like him. He's very smart. I'm an econ guy. He's great on the budget, and he's one of the few that is really digging in on entitlements. And so there's a couple of policy issues where I obviously think he's going to have to speak out a little bit on immigration and Obama's unconstitutional amnesty. That'd be helpful if he can clarify a little bit. But basically, our side doesn't want to do what the other side is doing, and that's hold someone their vote of conscience and make them vote our way. That's not what we want, because that's what we're upset at. We just want a fair process. If we lose on votes, if we're all allowed to participate in the committee structure and chairmen and leaders are kind of doled out that represent the American people, then we got a fair process. And then if you lose on the vote, you lose on the vote, because it's democracy. And so I'm not trying to skirt around it. Ryan's got great credentials, smart guy. I think he's a very fair guy, too. But we just have to have that in writing, because currently you have people spending money, leadership allies spending money against conservative members in their own districts on radio ads, etc. And if you just go out and look at the money distribution coming out of leadership toward the conservative members with the highest conservative scores, right, at Conservative Review, we get no money. We're cut off from the money. And the most liberal members of the caucus, and I understand this is good for the team, right? But they're getting, a couple million for waking up in the morning. And so that's the challenge. We just want a little more fairness.
Our guest is Representative Dave Brat, Republican of Virginia. And in our final moments here, Congressman Brat, I got to ask you, just overall, you're hearing critics. The president is saying that, it's just pandemonium in the Republican Party. Chris Matthews says that the Republicans don't have their act together. This looks awful that you can't come up with a leader. Do you think this is a bad look, or do you think that this is actually a positive development that's going on in the Republican caucus?
Yeah, it's positive because it's going to make the American people scratch their head, right? So here's the true narrative. The true narrative is leadership created expectations that we're going to balance the budget, get rid of Obamacare, not break the caps, etc. Well, I'm on the budget committee. We have a budget that balances in 10 years. That's been ignored. Then we go to appropriations. We pass 5 bills, Senate pass 1, and that thing blows up. So now who's in charge of the budget of the United States of America? And the press doesn't know the answer to that, right? So they need to look that up. Then the liberal members of our caucus come in after they've blown up the budget process, and they say, we're going to vote to increase the debt ceiling, so therefore we're the heroes that are holding the conservative party together.
All right.
I mean, if you don't scratch your head after hearing that, right, so you bust the budget caps, you blow all of our conservative discipline, and the last thing any reports on is objective reality. We have $500 billion deficits.
Yeah.
They're going up to $1 trillion within the decade. $1 trillion in debt and $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities.
All right, we're going to have to leave it right there. So I just need a yes or no. If you get the assurances, then you could go with Ryan. I need a yes or no because we're out of time.
Yeah, absolutely. We get the assurances on fair process and a couple minimal policy things. He's a good guy.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you, Congressman. Greatly appreciate it.